Welcome to another deep dive, everybody. We've had some fascinating listener mail for this one. It's all about how different cultures,
Yeah.
define adulthood and elderhood. And
hmm
ah, let me tell you, some of these notes are really going to make you rethink that whole turning a certain age thing.
Right. Like it's so easy to get caught up in birthdays, but what's really interesting is how many cultures see it as this like way bigger shift. It's not just about getting older, it's about your place in the community, the responsibilities you take on. You
That's
have
about what you do, not
exact.
even just your age.
Totally.
So how do these cultures actually, mark that transition? Because some of the stuff you sent, wow. I
Yeah.
mean, it
Yeah.
was really eye-opening.
Well, think about like rites of passage ceremonies. Those are, I mean, you see those everywhere, right? From like indigenous tribes to honestly, even like modern day graduations, it's about formally saying, okay, you're an adult now, often with, rituals or challenges that kind of test their readiness and stuff.
Right, like you have to actually prove you can handle it, not just like
Yeah.
show up looking the part. Which reminds me, in your notes, you had this whole section on how some cultures won't consider you an adult until you demonstrate enough knowledge to handle adult stuff.
Yeah.
Like, can you actually walk the walk? Not just,
It's not just about physical maturity,
yeah,
right? It's about like social maturity, intellectual maturity too.
totally. You got to have the wisdom to go with the age. And
Exactly.
you know what else we saw in the notes?
What's that?
Marriage
Oh, right.
and having kids being like
Yeah.
those key markers of adulthood.
Right.
Which, I mean, come on. It really makes you think about how those ideas have,
Oh.
evolved in our world today.
For sure. Like those more traditional markers, I mean, they're still relevant in a lot of places, but they're definitely being redefined as we figure out like new family structures and, all the changing social norms and stuff. It's a really dynamic area of research. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how these definitions keep changing, in the future and everything.
So we talked about becoming adults, but what about, like the next stage? Your notes had some seriously powerful stuff about elders being like these wisdom keepers
Yeah.
and, consultants to the community and things like that. It really got me thinking to get the role they play.
It's huge. I mean, in so many cultures, that role is like deeply respected. Think about it.
Right.
You've lived a long life, you have all this experience, you've seen so much change. You're like a walking library,
Right.
holding on to the stories, the
Yeah.
traditions, the knowledge that a community needs to.
It's like that saying, when an elder dies, a library burns.
Exactly. And it's more than just the past, too. Elders are often the ones who can like bridge that gap between generations,
Right.
Passing those traditions on and everything.
Which makes you think, though, in our world today, that's all about, speed and being constantly connected. Do we still value that wisdom the same way? Like, we're
Yeah.
all about youth and disruption, which feels like almost the opposite sometimes.
That's a really good point. And yeah, it's something a lot of cultures are like struggling with. The notes you sent in talked about elders having, like high moral values and
Yeah.
authority, which makes you think about how those qualities, like, are they even valued in a world that's always questioning, the old ways of doing things and traditional power structures and everything?
It's such a weird paradox.
Yeah.
We're living longer than ever,
Right.
but are we actually, like, respecting that lived experience?
Yeah, it's definitely complicated, but I do think more and more people are starting to realize that we lose something really important when we don't make space for the voices of elders. You know what I mean? Like in our communities and stuff.
Totally. And, it's funny, because one thing that really struck me in your research was just how many different ways cultures, define the signs of adulthood.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them were so specific. Like,
Yeah.
I remember reading about building a hut or circumcision and even like giving someone a specific object.
Oh, totally. And all of those things are packed with meaning. Like, for example, the Maasai people in East Africa, young men are expected to build a hut before they're considered men.
Wow.
And it's not just about having a place to live. It shows they can provide shelter, security for a family.
Yeah.
It's a real tangible sign of those adult responsibilities we were talking about.
And it ties back into that community aspect too.
Totally.
Because it's not just a personal achievement, right?
Right.
It's about what it means for the whole community.
Absolutely. And you see that reflected in so many coming of age rituals, whether it's like a young woman learning to weave so she can contribute to her family, or a young man going out hunting to help, feed everyone.
Yeah.
It's all about showing those skills that everyone values.
And you know what else really resonated with me? All the emphasis on adults keeping the peace in the community. like maintaining that harmony.
Right. It's not enough to just like take care of yourself and your family, right? Adulthood means looking out for everyone else too.
It's like being connected to everyone around you is like a huge part of being an adult in these cultures.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not just about, me and what I want. It's understanding that you have responsibilities to everyone else too.
Exactly. And you see that in how they do, like everything, resolving disagreements, sharing resources, even just how much they respect their elders. It really makes you think about what it means to be an adult in a whole new way.
It really does. Makes you wonder if maybe we could learn a thing or two, especially today when it feels like everyone's just doing their own thing. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like, what if being involved in your community, helping out, even just like being a good neighbor, what if we saw that as like a core part of being an adult, not just something extra?
I love that because that's what these cultures are telling us, right?
Yeah.
There's so much more to being an adult than just like having a job and paying your bills. It's about finding a deeper meaning
Yeah.
and your purpose in the community, contributing to something bigger than yourself.
This has been amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
your notes were incredible.
No, there.
Really got us thinking about how, different cultures view these huge life transitions.
It's been fun. I always love getting to chat with you about this stuff. And, your questions always make me think about things in new ways. So,
Me too. And for everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us on this incredible journey. Remember, these deep dives are all about, getting you curious and making you think. So as you go about your day, ask yourself, how can WE use these different perspectives on adulthood and elderhood to create stronger, more connected communities in the 21st century? Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those big questions, and keep those awesome notes coming in.